Diane Windsor, welcome to Writers in Relationship.
Hi, Gail.
Hi, I'm so happy to be talking with you on my Substack. And you are actually my publisher. So, full disclosure to my followers, I have an investment in this woman and her vision and her wonderful mission. So, why don't you just tell our viewers your version of the story of our connection, of our relationship? I don't even remember how
Yeah,
we met, but you tell me.
I know, right? I was thinking
Yeah.
about that today.
Yeah.
How did we meet? But so I am the owner of Motina Books Publishing. I am a teeny tiny independent publisher based in Colorado, and I focus um, on publishing books by and for women and mothers because it's hard to get published traditionally these days by the big publishers. And so I wanted to be able to give some of these, authors, female authors mostly, um, an opportunity to tell their stories, whether fiction or nonfiction, and get their messages out into the world. And so
So,
that's how you and I met.
yeah, what was the like what happened?
What like the backstory a little bit,
Yeah,
or
because like they don't the people watching don't necessarily know about this book or anything. So, what was the first you heard of me and my writing and our project?
I think okay, you reached out to me. You submitted a book proposal, right?
I think
And this
so.
was a few years ago
Yeah.
because publishing a book takes a long time. It just does. Especially if you're working with a small publisher, I think. Well, I think the big publishers can take a while too because there's a lot of steps. So, and honestly, I'm not even sure how you found me. Did you just start Googling or did we have connections in common on social media or something?
Nothing. I think it was cold. I think we saw that it was
I
motherhood and
Okay,
it was boyhood
cool. I
reimagined,
think
which
it
is
was too.
right.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
read our proposal and
right. And I like the story. So the title of the book is Boyhood Reimagined: Stories of Queer Moms Raising Sons. And I'm like, that sounds like a really cool topic. And I think it would be great to work on this with you and Jen and get this into the world. Um, so yeah, so we I really do think it must have been a couple of years ago. It was sometime in 23, early 23.
I think 22 actually.
It was. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah,
Man, and time just
I
flies,
know.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel that long ago.
So this is a collection of essays that my friend Jen Marlowe and I um, put together and edited, and yeah. So tell us, actually, let's shift gears a little bit. You recently moved, so your setting
Yeah,
has changed. So tell us a little bit about your relationship with where you are now.
with where I am. I'm very happy.
Yeah, so whatever that question means, take it
Okay.
in any direction you want.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Colorado and moved here with my parents in 1978, 77 when I was 11. And then in 2005, I was going through a divorce and a job change, and that brought me to Texas. So I lived in the Dallas Fort Worth area for 19 years. And then my kids, who were grown, we went on a family vacation in Breckenridge in 2022. And they said, well, we don't want to live in Texas. why, why are we living in Texas and we could live here back in Colorado? And I said, well, you do what you want, but we're not going to follow you because I still had a day job and we had not too long before we built a house in a new community, my husband and I. And whoops, sorry. And but then I started really missing my kids. So 2 years later, here we are. It was kind of semi-spontaneous. I'm like, I remember it was June and my husband was on a business trip and something weird had happened in the community. And, it's very conservative, especially in rural Texas. And I'm like, okay, because I think even if you're living in a place where maybe not everybody is on the same page as you, you still find your people. You tend to find your people, right? And that was fine. But I remember I I was feeling that I don't have any real connections here. Why am I here?
Mm.
My family's not here. My stepmother's even here in Denver. She's 84 years old. I mean, I wanna be around the people that I care about and who care about me. So, and I was actually surprised that my husband jumped on board as quickly as he did.
After
So
19 years when you was more.
yeah, well, and building a house together and everything, and yeah, but he had lived in Texas even longer. He moved there in the late 90s with his first wife, and we got together. We met in '09, so but he was fine with it. And yes, so we're here in a rental house for a year because I didn't want to jump into buying a new home without being here for a while and figuring out, where we want to be. So, yeah, and it's great. Just hanging out. We have a nice setup, work from home. So, and it was a lot of work. Oh my gosh.
The
Moving is
move.
so fun. You did that recently too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
moving's so fun.
But it's interesting because like it's interesting to hear that it was the relationships. It was the relationships, right, that drew you.
Everything's about
Yeah,
relationships,
yeah, yeah.
I think.
I think too.
Even our relationship. I mean, it's as a publisher, I'm not here to tell you what to do. We are a team.
Yeah, totally.
And I mean, we just every time we talk, it's a conversation, it's a discussion. It's not, me dictating what's going to happen. And the book has evolved a lot since the beginning, and I'm really thrilled with where it is. The fact that we're adding artwork, we're adding family photographs. It's probably going to be full color, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, I think we decided that, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah, we
I
did.
mean, that's great. It's going to
Yeah.
be a really beautiful book.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really excited for it to come out in June of 2025.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, so speaking of relationships, t tell me about your relationship with writing. Like,
I
do you have one? I mean, you love
used
writing. You're an avid reader, but tell me about, yeah.
I used to think I was a writer and I wanted to be a writer. And that was always kind of my dream when I was a kid. Um, because I was always reading as a kid, just constantly. And I remember, oh my gosh, I think I was in high school reading Stephen King. I was reading Salem's Lot, staying up really late. It was like 1 in the morning, and it was at the part in the book where the little vampire kids start scratching at the window, and I was freaking myself out. But just, you know, constantly that kind of stuff. Um, so I thought I always wanted to be a writer. Excuse me. And in the early 2000s, I actually had two different agents representing me, but nothing ever happened. So I think that's interesting because I thought for sure once I had an agent, I they would find a publisher for me.
And
Why else would
did
they?
you have a book?
I had written nonfiction. I've always kind of worked, my day job has been in the tech industry. And I wrote a series of children's books on how technology works. And so,
Wow.
granted, this was in the early 2000s, so of course, it's changed drastically.
But
But
that's such a cool project. What a
uh,
cool idea. I
people didn't think it was. I
But
thought
your agent, you got a couple of
I
offers
got
of
two different
representation,
agents,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but nothing ever came of it. But then, I don't know. I've written I've written a little bit. I haven't written anything in a long time because I'm just not interested in writing right now. And I think I'm better at the publishing stuff than I am as a writer. I really do. That's what I enjoy more. That's where my passion is.
So,
at
so
this point
say
in my
more
life.
about that because that's really my next question. Yeah. Talk about
You
that,
know,
how that started and
meeting, how did that start? I think it was like back in 2016. I set up my company, got an LLC, all of that good stuff. And I was contacted by a woman that I knew on Facebook, and she was interested in having a book published. And I'm like, okay, that I could do that. That's a good idea. And it was a middle grade book about a golden retriever who got lost, and it was based on a true story, which is kind of cool. Um, but then I started getting involved in more writing and publishing groups on social media and started connecting with more women. And then there were several authors who were not happy with their current publisher, and they talked to me, and things just started happening. It's like the more books you publish, the more people want to publish with you, it seems, right? Um, and I do try to be transparent. I'll tell people if I think we're a good fit or not, because not every publisher is going to be a good fit for every author, right? It, that's just kind of, I don't know, it's just the truth. And even if we get along, even if I like your work, um, just because a publisher says, "Oh, I want to, publish your book," I think an author really needs to do their homework. And I always say that my existing authors are probably happy to talk to you, about me, about working with me as a reference. I'm always happy to provide references. Um, so yeah, it's not every publisher and author are going to be a good fit for each other. You gotta look into that. But I
let me
remember
ask you about what gave you the impetus to start Motina
for
in the first
publishing,
place? Like what led you to say, "Oh, I want to be a publisher?" Because that's a big decision, right?
I think it's because my day job, I'm a technical writer. And so I am so used to doing all of the formatting and the layout. And then I started getting into a little bit of cover design and stuff. And I understand about, different file types and uploading to KDP and Ingram Spark and how all of that works. To me, that makes it's very practical stuff, and my mind works more like that than creative. So I honestly, I don't think I have a good answer for you. It's like,
That's
how did I
fine. That's
get
fine. But
into publishing? I just really like it, and I think I'm better at it than at the actual writing. I'm not a good creative writer. I can write nonfiction
yeah,
better than fiction.
right.
I've written a finance book for single parents.
Oh,
Um,
that's cool.
but then I don't market my own books like I tell my authors to.
That's so funny. Let me go back to something you were saying about not every writer is a good fit for every publisher.
Sure.
What are the things that make the fit work?
Um, well, I think it's so important for me. I want my relationship with my author to be a true team where we are both making the decisions. And whether that's the content or the cover design or the formatting of the book, I just think it's so important for us to work together as a team. Now,
Mm,
I've talked to some authors um, who say that their publisher wants to decide everything. And I also know of some authors who want to decide everything, but still work with a publisher. And it's like that, to me, that doesn't work. Then just go self-publish if you're not going to listen to your publisher. Um, so it's that understanding of working together as a team, I think, and also being equally excited about the project, right? It's like there are some books that just don't do it for me.
mm.
So, and I'm honest about that.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sorry, this isn't going to be a good fit for me.
right. What about on the writer side? Like if a writer was trying to evaluate, is this publisher a good fit for me? What should a
Um,
writer be looking for initially?
That's great. I think communication is very important. Like if you send me an email and I don't get back to you for a week, that's a problem, right? Communication is so important. And that's not an exaggeration. I know people that has happened to. It's like I have one wonderful memoir author. Her name is Ronit. Um, do you know Ronit?
You showed me some of her.
Okay.
I don't know if it was her publicities, but there was some. I remember the name because I went to high school
Okay.
with someone named Ronit, so it just
Okay. Okay.
rang a bell.
She's just wonderful. She lives in the Seattle area. And she had a project going with another publisher, and she did not hear back from them for months. And I mean, something happened, life happens, we get that, we all understand that, but let the people know, right? You've got to let your people know. So communication is huge. And I also think as a publisher, if I tell you something, that we're going to do this, or this is going to happen by this date, or this is going to be the launch date of your book, I need to stick to that.
Yeah.
And I have heard so many stories about launch dates sliding. It's like, how can you plan anything if the publisher is going to change your launch date, right? It's you can't plan anything.
So
So,
basically, getting references to speak to some of those things to
right,
say, okay,
right,
Jill Ryder, how was
yeah.
your communication with this publisher? Did your launch date go on as planned? Did you?
And what does your publisher do for you? I mean, maybe the author's concerned about marketing.
Mm,
So, does the publisher help you with marketing at all?
right.
But to that regard, I will say it is really the author's main responsibility to do the marketing. But as
Yes.
a publisher, I'm happy to help in any way. And I don't know if all publishers do that. Like Kara Tottlebaum is another memoir author, and we launched her book, I think, in 22, maybe 23. I can never remember. I can never remember dates, but I think it was 22. So it's been 2.5 years, and we still talk. She still comes to me with opportunities, events she wants to do. Hey, can we do this? Hey, can we do that? Hey, oh, just a couple weeks ago, she said, there's a dance writer in the UK and we've connected and she wants a copy of my book. Can you send it to her? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. So,
Right.
just I always tell authors a book has a long life. It is not only about the launch. Sure,
Mm,
the launch is important, but I think a lot of people spend too much time and effort on the launch date. Once the book is available for purchase, let's focus on who the readers are and how do we get to those readers, and what is the message that we want to tell those readers about the book and get them to buy the book.
mm.
So I mean, books really do have a long life,
Yeah, yeah,
in my
yeah.
opinion.
And it sounds like your orientation is playing the long game,
Yes, yeah,
right?
that's what I want to do. So like in 2021, I think it was, I totally bit off more than I can chew with publishing. I'm like, sure, I can do this. I can do 2 books a month. Yeah, I can publish all of these books. And I was so overwhelmed. It was horrible. So
My
now
God.
my goal is to publish 4 books a year. And I'm slowly working towards that
Mm,
because what I want to focus on is helping my authors, my current authors, sell the books that we've already published instead of just cranking out new books.
right,
I
right,
mean, that's what makes sense.
right.
And I'm a big fan of the direct sales, cutting out the middleman. Let's sell our books directly to the readers.
So how does that work in terms of marketing? If you're looking more towards direct sales, how does that influence how you market?
It's well, I was going to say it makes it more difficult, but it really doesn't because whether you're selling through Amazon or a bookshop or another book retailer or directly to the reader, I mean, you've still got to get the word out there. You still got to do the marketing. When I talk about selling directly to the reader, it can be in, multiple um, methods. And I'm actually going to do a presentation on this in March for the Women in Publishing Summit. It's an online summit every year that Alexa Bigworth does. But it's so you can sell at in-person events, and I know you've done that with your YA novel. And I love in-person events. I think in-person events are so much fun. And I had several that I would do throughout the year in Texas, and I've got to find new ones now in Colorado that I want to go to, but I don't think it's going to be that hard.
Mm.
Um, just wanted to get through the holidays and then start, focusing on that. But in-person events are great. Um, and also we can sell direct from the publisher's website. Excuse me, from my website.
Mm.
So
Do
you know
you,
how,
yeah, go ahead.
as an independent publisher, I don't have 1,000 books printed and then keep them in my basement or my garage and then sell them that way. We use print on demand technology, right? And that's through Amazon, called KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, and Ingram Spark. They both do that. There's another company that does that called Lulu. Have you heard of Lulu?
I have heard of Lulu, yeah.
And they allow you to connect a shopping cart, like either WooCommerce or Shopify, from your website or my website, since I'm the publisher.
Mm.
But self-published authors can do this too. And then connect to their print on demand service. And so if somebody goes to your website and they say, add Boyhood Reimagined to the cart, then Lulu will print it and send it to them.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So I have made the strategic decision that from my website, each book that I publish has a page, right? And then it says buy the hardback or buy the paperback, and it it will be a direct sale from my website through Lulu.
Got
I
it.
don't have a button for Amazon or a button for Barnes and Noble or something
That's
because everybody knows
yeah,
if they want to buy a book from Amazon, they can find it on Amazon.
right.
But I am encouraging readers and purchasers to buy direct from me,
Mm.
which puts a little more money in our pockets
Yes,
because we're eliminating the middleman.
yes, that's fantastic.
And we can also start building a relationship with the reader because we collect their contact information and
Uh,
hopefully they want to join our mailing list.
that's great. Yeah. Yeah, and then it does nurture those relationships
Yeah,
in a more direct way.
right,
That's
right.
fantastic.
And we can also do, direct sales by having a bunch of books on the table behind me that I'm trying to sell.
Yay. And so do you like literally like wrap them up and take them to the post office?
If I get orders.
I love it.
I tried to have like a holiday promo special and it didn't work out,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's okay. I mean, I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll just take those to in-person events. Or, it's just the marketing is hard.
yeah. Yes.
Selling books is not easy because there are a lot of books on the market. So, and we have to do as authors and small publishers, we have to do all of the marketing things, social media, your newsletter, your what was I going to say? Social media, newsletter, um, in-person events. I've done a postcard campaign, and just constantly following up with people.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's think going back to the relationships aspect of publishing. Has there been have there been tricky spots along the way? And I
Sure.
wonder if you have any stories that
Yeah.
might be good and useful for our most people that are following are writers themselves. So if it can kind of help them in their relationships with their publishers, that's kind of what I'm going.
There was an author that I had, um, and we were working on his second book, and we set up a time to talk about marketing. We were going to have a Zoom call, and he didn't show up. And then he decided to have the cover designed without me and without any input. And then he got the manuscript to me and he said it was edited and it wasn't. And I said, I'm sorry, I think we need to terminate this contract. And that was very hard for me, very hard. Um, and I mean, that's the example. It's like, I understand that authors really want control over their um, their work. Then you need to go ahead and self-publish it.
Right.
You do.
It's not a collaborative
It's not
mindset.
collaborative at that
Yeah.
point. Right. Right. So there, I mean, that kind of thing doesn't happen that often, but as a publisher, I need to be okay with making a decision to not move forward,
Yes.
I think.
Yes. Yes.
So, but I do have in my contract that if an author doesn't want to work with me anymore, they don't have to. They can have their rights back.
Right.
Um, Now it will mean like, okay, usually when a book has been published, they're not gonna they're not gonna cancel on me. One author did.
Really? After the
Yeah,
after publication?
yeah. I'm not really sure why. I think she didn't like the fact that I expected her to do a lot of marketing for her book. So that was kind of annoying because I put a lot of work into, I did her cover design, I did uh book formatting and editing, and it's like, okay, then she wasn't happy with the relationship, I guess.
Right.
So,
And
okay,
didn't approach you to have a conversation about what she was
right,
happy
right.
about. Yeah.
But I mean, I get it. It's okay. Things happen,
Right. Right.
you know. So,
So
yeah,
I
I
guess
think
I
putting
take
expectations out there is important
right to talk about those things maybe up front.
beforehand, up front. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
well, this is an ongoing process, with every book I publish, with every author I work with, I learn new things,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So there are things that I'm doing with your book that I didn't do, 5 books ago, just because I didn't know.
Of course, like any process, it's iterative,
Yeah,
right? Like
exactly.
you have
Exactly.
to just you unfold that you unfold the skills unfold as you go through
Right.
the process.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Anything that you are looking back on and saying, ah, if I had known then what I know now, I would have done X differently.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think communication, like I said, is so important. And I had an earlier author, and I feel we probably did not communicate as well as we should have
Okay.
about expectations. I mean, because it is only me, my company is just me. It's a lot of work for one person to do. So that's why it's like, um, with formatting, this author thought I was just going to run with the formatting and everything was going to be perfect. It's like, well, no, I need the author's input on the final format. It's like, if you don't like something, or if I screwed something up, which I will do, I will make mistakes. And most things are fixable. They
Yeah,
really are.
sure.
But we just need to talk about it. And we need to work together on this stuff.
And I think something that I keep learning over and over and over and over and over. I just had something with my mom who is in a nursing home, and we're trying to organize legal and financial issues, and we were doing it on email.
Oh,
Telling you, anytime it gets in any way complicated where a conversation is needed,
yeah,
do it live. Do it
yeah,
live, people. And
yeah.
I know writers can be shy and writers can be introverted and writers
Right.
can be conflict averse and all those things, but I'm telling you,
Yeah.
if you and I had something, I don't even remember what it was. Like I said, can we pick up the phone? We met and we worked it out. It
Right.
was fine. Like,
Yes.
but if we
I don't
had never
remember what it was either, but you're right. You're
which
right.
is a
That happened.
testament to the fact that we just talked about it and it was no big deal.
Correct.
But
Correct.
but when and
Oh, it was editing. It was like, what kind of editing do you expect? It was like that.
it was
Because
something about yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And it was just we just like in 5 minutes it was done. It was finished. And I think the miscommunicate because we rely on tone and like the
right.
stuff that we as humans rely on is not present in emails and texts. And I think
Correct.
there's a generational issue with that where Gen Zs and millennials are just they prefer doing things by text and
I
email.
talk to
And
so many younger people who are terrified of getting on the phone. They will not make a phone call.
and it
They
works
want to
against
text.
them. It works against
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Because
So
you're
people,
absolutely right. So many things are just worked out and resolved if you have a conversation.
yeah. Listen to us, writers.
See the
What
gray hair?
that's it. Yeah, yeah. We know. We have some
We know
wisdom
what
to
we're talking
share.
about.
Right. What are some projects you're excited about for 2025?
Well,
Just give
your
us a
book,
taste. I wasn't leading the witness here.
leading the witness, that's great. No, I am though. I mean, it's like we said, it has evolved into this, from a collection of essays, which is still great, into this. I think with Erin's artwork and the family photos, it's going to be a beautiful color um, book, and I'm really excited about that. Um, I've also got uh, a novel called The Marriage Debt about sex during menopause coming out in May. So that'll be good too. I I love, stories about, older women being empowered. I think that's great. And this is one of those. Um, then in February, we're launching The Full Catastrophe, which is a memoir by Casey Mulligan Walsh. And we did an Instagram live a couple of weeks ago with her about being a good literary citizen because she's already got like over 100 Goodreads reviews and we're still a month and a half away from publication.
My gosh.
Yeah, she's been working on this for a long time. So that's cool. So that's the first half of the year. And then I've got another children's book about disability visibility coming out in July for Disability Pride Month. Um, See, I am really trying to cut down on my workload. Then there's a historical fiction series that I'm working on, and this is a relaunch with an author in Texas. And I think we might be doing for sure one book this year, maybe two. But that's a little different than launching a brand new book. You know what I mean? It's already out there. Version one is already out there. She got her rights back from another publisher, and we are relaunching the book,
Yeah.
this series. So it's a tad different. Um, but yeah, there's in 2026, I've got a few cool ones coming out. There's another anthology coming out, and it's about waiting. And I haven't read any of those essays yet, so that'll be fun to read. And then I recently met a man in Boulder whose wife passed away a few years ago, and he has written a book. Well, actually, his tagline is "My wife died, and then we wrote a book together." So that's going to be a beautiful book too. It's a memoir, grief and loss. He has three young kids, It was very sudden. Um, so yeah,
It's
I'm
exciting.
always excited about my projects.
Yeah, they all sound amazing. I want to just
Oh,
buy them
thanks.
all. So I might just have to
That's right.
start doing my marketing so I can afford to buy other people's books.
There you go. Yes, and we'll definitely talk about marketing. There's so many things that we need to do. Well,
Yeah.
it's a long-term thing.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is identify who your readers are
Mm.
and then figure out the best way to get to those readers.
Well, and that is a relationship. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
when someone told me that and when someone said you're building a relationship with people,
Yeah.
suddenly the marketing I understood it in a different way so that I could, when I put stuff out, it was less salesy and it was more like, oh,
Yeah.
this is what I'm doing. This is
Yes.
what I have, and you might be interested. And that's just a very different kind of tone.
I love that. I love that perspective
Yeah. Yeah.
about that. It's about relationships
Yeah.
because it is.
It totally is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Diane. It's been such a pleasure, and
Oh, sure.
I'm looking forward to reading all of those books and to continue following Motina
Thank
as
you.
it grows up. And
Thanks,
I
Gail.
really appreciate having you on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was great.